On Friday night, 12 legal experts gave us their take on the trial,
including Mr. Manuelian here. Al Eisner asked them what they thought of Dr. Schaefer's testimony, and here's what they had to say.
Okay. I think it was difficult to say because one of the things I think that impressed a lot of people was the fact that Schaefer flew here on his own dime.
Dr. Stephen Schaefer.
But on cross-examination, now he appears to have an agenda. I mean, he seems to be a strange person, you know, and so you have to wait to the end to see.
Explain that.
He seems to be a weird person. You want to wonder
a weird person?
Yes. Who is going to, on their own dime, fly across the country, finance these tests he did on propofol, take propofol himself, and then come on here to try to steal his friend's reputation as being the king of propofol.
What he says, Melanie, he says he does this because he doesn't want anybody to see him as being biased. Biased?
I think he's very biased. He comes across very pro-prosecution. You can see it even in the defense cross-examination of him. He wants to answer without even being asked the question. He wants to expand on it. He's not able to give yes or no answers, and it looks definitely biased.
All right.
So you were one of the 12 we had in here in an unprecedented roundtable discussion led by Phil Donahue Eisner. Have you ever had a case like this?
No, this is obviously
a medical, and obviously not with Michael Jackson.
I haven't had
medical case.
I haven't defended a client where he's alleged to have killed a global icon like Michael Jackson before.
Yeah, that's kind of rare.
Happens once every, I don't know, 20, 30 years, if that. But it is a difficult case. And getting back to what I was saying before, is the defense should stay focused. This is their point at the bat. They're up at bat right now, and they could actually knock the ball out of the ballpark. I'm hoping for the best for them, but it's going to, like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Do they have to, you heard one of the attorneys, I think it was Karina Castaneda, say that they have to fill the holes in some of the questions. I mean, for example, we talked a lot about that time gap between when he says he gave Michael the propofol, was gone for 2 minutes, there's going to be 47 minutes of phone calls. Does someone on the defense have to explain that?
Yes, because there's two theories of gross negligence, or the synonymous gross negligence, which is involuntary manslaughter. One is abandonment. Did he abandon Michael Jackson? Timeline is very key. Timeline is important. Right. The second thing is, how did he die? Is it acute propofol intoxication? Is it something else? So if they were to dispel that, the acute propofol intoxication theory of the coroner, then they still have the problem of the abandonment.
So who explains that if Dr. Murray doesn't testify?
Well, they could explain it either through the timeline, or they could explain it through plausible theories. Remember, there's inferences. If it's reasonable, you have to go with the reasonable. They don't need to put him on the stand. They could just create a theory that the jury will say, absolutely, I believe that happened. Like he self-administered the propofol himself, or he grabbed something or did it himself.
Right, but I'm talking about that gap.
The timeline.
There's still 47 minutes, give or take, that's unaccounted for.
That more, because I just, from the beginning, I thought, well, how can you have 46 minutes worth of phone calls in the presence of a guy who's trying to go to sleep? It doesn't make sense. Clearly, he had to leave the room.
Well, if you listen to the opening statement, Chernoff said that he died instantaneously. He's trying to cut out the abandonment issue, because if he died instantaneously, then the abandonment wouldn't matter.
Right, right.
So they have to first...
Legally?
It may not. It may not. If he died right away.
But he didn't know that he died.
If there was some sort of superseding, intervening cause, or something that caused Michael Jackson's death that Conrad Murray didn't do,
they've got to prove that.
All right, but I still want to know how do you explain the 47 minutes without Dr. Murray testifying and say, I made a mistake on my timing, or something like that?
You know, you
can't.
It's problematic. That's why you should never walk up to your client.
You should never talk to the police.
Never talk. Never, never, never.
So if you know that, and the first-year law student knows that, and every other defense attorney we've talked to knows that, and Chernoff is supposed to be a highly regarded attorney, why did he do it?
Maybe
maybe
that's his style.
Anything.
That could be his style.
Yeah.
He's the only defense attorney in America that would have done that?
Look, I can't. It's 2020 is always. I don't want to attack the guy, because he did what he did. And I can't criticize him right now, but he's got to deal with it. And maybe it was a mistake, but you know what? You could still win this case. There have been mistakes.
Maybe it was a mistake. Every defense attorney we've talked to said it was like the basic mistake.
And I agree with that. But what are you going to do?
It's done.
It's done.
He did it.
I understand, but now he's boxed himself. He's boxed himself.
I can't beat him now. I've got to actually help the guy, and I got to tell him.
Now your defense attorneys, the defense attorneys got to make up some other theory to explain the 47 minutes.
Well, it's our job to create reasonable doubt.
No, it's not your job to create reasonable doubt. It's your job to seek justice. Or is that the prosecution's job?
That's the prosecution's job.
So you can just make up a theory? Yes.
I mean, I'm surprised that more people. I mean, we came up with this.
They're going to chop the timeline down. That they have to do.
I think the only thing they can say is that Dr. Murray was wrong about when he gave Michael the 25
Absolutely.
milligrams.
Absolutely.
That it was later.
And by the way, the couple of minutes could have been an estimate. All of these things can be played around with. The timeline can
a
be.
couple, but we're talking 46, 47, 48 minutes, not a couple.
Well, that's what the prosecution said.
Yeah, but
That
we
was
have the
the phone
phone records.
Yeah,
And
well,
we have Dr. Murray's interview with the police
The
saying...
phone record said about 46 minutes of cell phone
Right, but
calls,
I got a
cell
feeling
phone interaction.
I've got a feeling the defense is going to explain that. They have to explain
Yeah,
that.
they have to. That's
Yeah, but I'm
we've been
just not
asking
sure
that
how.
question for
I'm just not sure
you know
how.
for
I
the
don't know
entire
the-
course of this trial.
I don't
We've
know
been
I mean, you're
asking
going to
that
need
question.
Johnny Cochran to come back to
Right.
explain that one.
All right. We'll have more on the Michael Jackson Doctor trial when we come back, so stay with us. Now, I have a question. I'm going to start this off with a question, and we were talking about it a little bit in the break. I was wondering, because I did not watch all the testimony Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, did any of those three experts talk about the lorazepam, the Ativan that was in the stomach contents that the defense talked about in opening statements where they said it was 8 times, like 8 pills? At any time, did any of those experts say, oh, no, that wasn't the case, or do you remember?
RJ?
My understanding is, if I'm not, if I didn't misunderstand, that there was trivial amounts of lorazepam in the stomach area, very, very trivial amounts, and that's what the experts know at this point in time. Now, what Paul White will say or what their expert will say, we'll have to wait and see.
Because again, it goes back to the concept of drug interaction. If you have Valium, lorazepam, Versed, midazolam, whatever it is, and the propofol. What is that like? What is that kind of cocktail going to do to, as you point out, a guy that should be 170 pounds and he was a mere 135 pounds?
Well, do you think Dr. White will try to focus on the role these other drugs played?
He might.
Get it off of propofol?
He might, and he might have to. And I think one of the things that they'll say is that Michael Jackson had a high tolerance rate. So these drugs that were given to him over the period of hours, and as we know, it didn't really have an effect because Michael was complaining that he couldn't sleep.
I'm still awake,
Right.
I'm still awake.
So we might have to explain to the jury, or they might have to explain to the jury that, all these drugs that they gave, it doesn't sound as bad as it is because he had a high tolerance level.
They've been doing it for years.
Doing it for
with
years.
other
And by the way,
doctors.
according to Conrad Murray's information that he gave to the police, Michael was practically begging for it and saying, if you don't give it to me, I'm not going to go to practice.
Right.
And Conrad Murray said, well, I had no
Exactly.
choice because if I didn't give it to him, he wasn't going to go that day.
Well, that's when
Well,
Dr.
had no
Schaefer had the
choice, but
comment
yeah.
about he was saying he was like a household employee. This
Instead of a
saying yes,
doctor.
which was a pretty
That was a
powerful
good job.
statement.
It was a
yeah,
good job.
it was a good one.
Yeah, it was
I
it was
think
a
that
good
was
insult.
point
Yeah.
for the prosecution, for sure.
I want to thank RJ Manuelian for coming over. Appreciate it. His expertise, always interesting to talk to. We'll be right back with more on the Michael Jackson Doctor trial after this.